One of the great ironies in all of this, and sometimes because things move so fast, because I don't repeat things the same thing twice. Once I feel it and feel to share it because it has some value to some student, somebody that's choosing to want to learn or connect with somebody, because intelligent energy, okay, naturally in spirit, because the spirit is the teacher, okay. Here's an example. I don't have a lot of subscribers, okay, and on one level, it would be unusual if I did. And you go, what? Well, if I go back in time and go look at all the subscribers, people that were actually watching that, okay, you're not going to see hundreds, if not thousands, and that's quite simple. It's much like Project Ascension. Okay, when you had Patty Broussard on there, a shaman, Micmac tribe, twin spirit, right? Okay, my clan mother, Karen Ann Luke McDonald, 13th White Bear Arcturian, White Bear clan, right? Okay, you're not, we're not going to get thousands and thousands of prescribers or thousands, even like Max Eigen, what I call the circus tent, the Roman arena, the circuits, magnetic circuits, the information that is flowing through all the circuits, which is the morphogenetic field structure, which is the communication network that everybody's plugged into, right, with their software, right? Okay, so if your state of consciousness, which represents who it is that you are in energy, your energy identity, right? If you have a soul, you have a soul identity. You know who you are. You know you have a soul, and you're led in spirit, so you're a live one. It's alive, mama. Okay, it's breathing aloha, which means there's a living spirit in you. Spirit is in the energy. So if you're experiencing what light is, you're experiencing what love is. Now, I understand the trauma side of this, which is another word for that is called miasma. I measure it within any planetary system, actually any galaxy, as resistance. To experience the purity of the fire, which is the purity of the light, which is the purity of the love. Which means, is it really real? Are they trying to fake it? You can't fake that energy, okay? It's a pure vibration, as pure as it gets. That's music. Love is music. And those that experience love as music, naturally, the natural flow is to tune in with the natural flow of the way love is a musician. Love is the first music teacher. Okay? So I'm a music teacher, but music is also math, right? So this is where the reconstruction gets in. And I've tried to sort of impart this in other people, because if they're not there yet, then they don't experience the way that it naturally works, which means I don't have to reconstruct as they do in their schools, which is reversal. It's like reverse engineering thing, which means the construct's already together. Okay? Why are you needing to use energy to take apart what is already together? It's like the puzzle when you buy a puzzle in a box with all the pieces, right? You already see the picture. You've already taken a photograph of it, and you've magnetically recorded it in your own RAM. Let alone experiencing, like if you're out in a jungle or on a beach, you're experiencing, okay, at that moment, at the opening and closing magnetic moment, you're experiencing the projection screen, the moving pictures, right? Okay, you're in the movie. That's the flow of the movie. If you're experiencing what love is, and everything that is in those pictures were created with what love is, then you're experiencing love in you that is experiencing love on the outside, which means it's an inside and the outside. You're the engine, which is the creator engine, upon which what is on the outside is the inside, which means the love is the same, the harmony and the waves. See how I'm doing this? With breathing. You're breathing in and out aloha. You're breathing in and out love energy. That's right. You're breathing in and out love energy. That's DC. That's direct current. We're the source of power. We power the cosmos. That's a cosmic level antenna. Okay? So I made a couple notes here because sometimes the tree of creation is so vast. Okay? You can't compress that into a single movie and put it up on Netflix. Sorry. The fragment. We've got to defrag. So what they do is they deconstruct, which is to reverse engineer something that's already been put together by us. trying to figure out how we did it. Okay. That's what they do. Okay. That's why when I was in their classes and the lady goes on mathematical methods, using the math, if you're going to use a controlled experience, you're trying to keep the variables as tight as you possibly can so that whatever the answer that you get back, right, the null hypothesis, which means I'm going to do everything I can to prove that the answer that I believe I know is not true. Okay? And then you want to keep that within a mil-spec between what? Plus or minus 0.0000000005. Hey, that's called a tolerance. How much can I tolerate? Okay. Now we're back to perfect balance. Magnets. Magnets love to be in balance. Living magnets. Living spirit that is in the light. Magnets that are in the light, that are in balance, that are on fire, to give away energy directly. That's direct experience. You're directly experiencing direct current. Okay? The most powerful engine of creation. So that's what they do. They copy us. Why would they have a need to copy us? Because they can't create anything that's real. Really? Yeah, they're not experiencing real living light. It's artificial. It's dead light. It's finite. That means it has an expiration tag on it. Or what I used to call a shelf life. Like a limited version of a Blade Runner. Or a cyborg. Or an android for that matter. Go watch a lot of the Star Trek Next Generation. When Data was there having a conversation with Captain Picard. And Captain Picard was there arguing on behalf of Data. How dare you insult Data? Okay? Because the guy that was in there, which I believe was another captain, he was a Starfleet officer. And part of what his job is doing what? Trying to improve on better versions of data information processors. The great androids. Right? Data was a great android in that, right? Data was cool. I love Data. Okay? Just like C-3PO. Right? And remember what he used to call Skywalker Master? Or Master Luke? Master Luke. And he'd have his hand up. So, see, he acknowledged he was a light warrior or Jedi, right? The Force side is the male side. But when you're one, when there is, for me, it's like no difference. There is no diff. It's only, the love engine is just always on. Everything, right? In other words, the fire's lit. Light all the candles, Mama, and the candles are lit. The flag was flying. That means the mast was flying. Yeah. Michelle put that into my window. I thought, yeah. That's like a flag, like you ever see it on the golf course? What's called the flag in the cup. That's called a hole-in-one. You ever had a hole-in-one? Played golf and hit a hole-in-one, and it's got the little cup. What is that, a circle? It's like a cup. Put it in the cup. Put the ball, the sphere, in the cup. But you got to pull the flag, so if you're going to putt, hey, that motor's got wings on it, right? So what was the other thing? Okay, and the reason that they're not an original creator is because they don't have a license. Well, they don't have a license. Wait a second. They want us to use our energy in order to get a license from them or permission from them in order to be able to be in that space. See? Well, this is how it works. First, it actually is that simple. The law of one, when you're experiencing a love vibration, direct current, you're experiencing what love is. That is automatic. That's an automatic license. That means at your core, you're with all the other musicians. You're with all the other creators, because the energy that we're using to create with is the energy that we do no harm with. doing no harm is the permission slip, and it's automatic because that's a genius in the law of least effort. Okay? Which is why the whole idea of deconstructing anything is what we call redundancy. So it was rather not surprising, but I worked at Rockwell International where they were building the space shuttle project. I was in, I don't remember the building number, but it was where the building where they actually had a replica. You know what a replica is? Self-replicating. You know what a self-replicating virus is. You know what self-replicating, self-destructive behavior is, right? It's in other words, that's a vampire without an off switch. It's self-replicating itself. That's the vampire chasing the artist. That's what it is. So that's why they resort to technology and artificial intelligence. That was the genesis of it. So the simple law makes it easy. So if they are not vibrating what love is, they are not what we are as true love creation engines. So one of the examples that I was watching that this AI popped up was a little segment of a movie called American Psycho. Boy, if this doesn't hit home, I don't know what will. But here you have, and I forget his name. He was also a very great actor. He's a detective, like working in missing persons. Somebody just disappeared from the landscape, and so a guy who is wearing the suspenders, and a nice, probably a $80. I don't know what they cost now, but back when I was a small child, my mother took me to men's stores, and I was wearing what were known as Eagle shirts and Gant shirts, which back then, this is like back in the early 1960s, were running like $20. They probably cost 300 times that now. 100% cotton. They were nice shirts, nice colors. It was a very fine garment, right? But anyway, so he's well dressed. In other words, he looks like he's a cubicle worker, high rise, window over the city. Take any Metropolis, 1927, Fritz Lang. Okay, so apparently somebody's gone missing. Nobody knows where he goes, so he's being reported as a missing person. So one of the first things that you notice that the director of the movie was making sure that you noticed was how he wanted to hide everything. He even faked that he was on the telephone with somebody so that the guy that's coming in there is going to believe that that's what's actually happening. But there isn't anybody on the other end of the phone. Okay, so in other words, he's faking the scene, just like actors do when they make a movie, just like they made that movie. So that's a simulation of another simulation within simulations. Okay, so what you have here is hide. He wants to hide the truth. He's trying to hide everything. So in other words, this being, even if he knew the truth, if the truth was to divulge to others what the truth actually is, okay, and he realizes he would get in trouble if he did that, then he's not going to do that. So he's in secret. They hide. They hide everything. They hide what they know, and they hide from themselves. That's what they do. They hide from themselves. So when the light is there, when pure light is there, they become transparent. They can't fool us, okay? That's why when I was a child growing up, it's like, get real. You have nothing to fear. We're not here to do any harm to you. So if I am what love is, and it means I love you, you don't have any fear of telling me the truth, no matter what you've experienced, no matter what you've done. Okay? I had friends of mine that I grew up with, okay, during this period of time that as a result of how this whole thing was being played out on the stage, have either ended up in federal or state prison, county jail. They're either dead from overdose of drugs, okay, or they've managed to self-destruct because they died of cancer or something else, okay? So this was, as a child, I realized this is like the last man standing. How many, who's the last light warrior here? Or if you will, I think of it because of what I am, like a first responder energy medic, like a healer. Okay, which means if I have to be the last love engine on the planet, then I will be the last love engine on the planet because I know what love is because that's what I am. Okay, which is like the last law standing, with your sword up in the air. I am what love is. Love will always go on. That's the engine that will always go on. Because you've had, even if it was for 3 seconds of your entire life, if you were able to experience what it was like to experience being loved that purely, with that deep a love, you know what it's like to experience it when it's real. So when it's real, it's not fake energy, because it's not trying to masquerade anything. It doesn't have to hide. It doesn't need to. Because of how much that love energy loves you. And you can't mistake it when you're in the presence of it. You know it's the truth. Because love doesn't lie to anybody, because they love you. Which means they're looking out for you. They care about you. The last thing that love is ever going to do is to harm you. It's the kind of energy that you were created from that loves you. So that naturally is healing energy for those that have suffered trauma. So now you can see how the victim-victimizer plays in all this, and how a psycho was developed as a result of an altar, as a result of the trauma, particularly what the parents do to their own children. That's what happened to Misha. You know, I mean, just, you know, you could say, for example, that a girl tells you when she's a grown woman that she was raped when she was 3 years of age, and she didn't know who the assailant was, right? But as you're experiencing, as I was experiencing how these words were unfolding, what she was sharing with me, what she experienced, the word that all of a sudden just drove the needle up was when she said her uncle. It's one thing to have an unknown assailant do that, and then somebody else that commits the same act, and then find out it's a family member. That makes it particularly egregious. But that's what they do. And they do it for a very specific reason, because they don't want you experiencing a higher vibration. They won't want you experiencing Neo and Trinity. That means they prefer their lower density. That means they're not going to have any energy to give you. And that's why Patty Broussard said it's impossible for them to ascend. And she mentioned one time that it was going to be under investigation. Because if you're a creative artist and you are what love is, and that's the energy that you're using to create something with, then whatever it is that you're creating, which is the energy that you're using to do it with, is going to be reflection in your mirror of what love is. So that the energy that it's running is the same as yours. Right? That's what a love creation energy does. That's what it means to experience being the one. Everything is what love is. Because that's the energy that we use to create with. And it's natural, has a natural flow. It's a natural flow of music. It means you're tuning into all the waves. Because it began with a love engine. Right? So that's why you have all their secret societies. That's why they're never going to come out. That's why a psycho is never going to admit or take account for the crimes that they've committed. They will always usually point to either you, which means you're going to deflect it back on you, which means they have every trick in the book to use whatever language that they choose that they can use to translate, that you can thus understand with your receiver and your translator, to make sure that that light that you're using, that is exposing the lies, gets moved off of them. And it has all sorts of devious ways to do that just produce what you see in a comic book, the little exclamation bar, right? And then the question character, and then the little spirals like this, like Three Stooges. So you realize you are never going to get away. You're never going to get through to a mind like that. That's a diseased state of mind. That's an altar. That's a fragment that went dark. Whatever it once was, okay, before the trauma, particularly the severe that it is, the shadow of that crystal, if you will, that glass, that mirror, that gate, is never going to come back unless it's restored. That fragment has been integrated and pulled back into the whole. So it experiences what love is, which is the purity of that fire. So they're not losing anything that they didn't start with, because it began with love. And that's the eternal gift of it. That's eternal engines. That's eternal energy. We're not ever going to run out of what love is. That's a self-sustaining engine. It naturally knows how to flow, and it naturally knows how to protect and take care without having to think about it. What love is. So did I guess I did. Have a good night. Yeah, The American Psycho. So many of their movies are what I call educational documentaries. Okay. It's funny how it works, because sometimes it's called reading the tea leaves, reading the codes. Who was making the movie? Was it our side? Was it their side? Could very well have been where you had a mixture of good guys, bad guys, white hats, dark hats. You could have a whole movie set of all kinds of players and characters that come from all over the universe. Right? Players playing the field. Yeah, players play music. We play music, heavenly music. Born in heaven, baby.